Hello, everyone. My name is David Detmer. I'm a professor of philosophy at Purdue University Northwest. And this is a video on exile or death, the case of Socrates. This is part two. So if you did not see part one and you want to get caught up, that video can be found right on this same channel. So in that video from last time, I talked about the great ancient Greek philosopher Socrates and how he was at a rather advanced age of 70 years old, brought up on trial on charges of corrupting the youth of Athens and disbelieving in the official state gods and introducing new gods. These were all crimes. And he defended himself at his trial, and that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. We have a record of the trial in one of the writings of Plato called the Apology. That's a record of what Socrates said at the trial. And several things are noteworthy. One is Socrates made no effort whatsoever to ingratiate himself with the jury. The jury was made up of 500 people, mostly politicians. It's not like an American trial with 12 jurors. Here there are 500 jurors. And so conviction doesn't require a unanimous vote, just simply a majority vote would do it. It's interesting, throughout the trial, Socrates frequently will say something like, please don't shout, please don't interrupt, please don't make a disturbance, because the things he's saying are so outrageous that maybe not outrageous to us today, but outrageous to the people who were judging him. So as an example of how cheeky he was and how unwilling he was to try to curry favor with the jury, at one point when he's talking about his life, he mentions that he had considered going into politics, but said, well, but I wanted to remain an honest person, and that's pretty much impossible, if you're a politician. Things like that to really irritate the jury. But on the substance of the charges, I think most modern readers would agree that he did a good job of refuting the charges. For example, I think one of the most telling points is that he says at one point, well, look, if I corrupted the youth of Athens, I've been doing this a long time. Some of them have grown up by now and would feel that I had corrupted them, and they could come forward and complain of having been corrupted by me. But none of them have done so. And the prosecutor has not produced any such witnesses, nor any family members. No parents have been brought forth to say, our child was corrupted by Socrates. So we merely have this man, Miletus, who has brought the charge, although he doesn't claim that he was corrupted by Socrates or that he had a child who was or anything like that. And then on the issue of disbelieving in the state gods and introducing new gods, because both of those charges were in Miletus's indictment. And Socrates asks him, well, I want to get clear on exactly what you're saying, Miletus. Are you saying that I introduced strange gods, or are you saying I'm an atheist who believes in no gods at all? And Miletus opts for the latter and says, yes, I say you deny that there are any gods at all. So Socrates shows him to be so philosophically incompetent that he doesn't understand that there's a contradiction between saying that Socrates introduced new divinities and saying he doesn't believe in any divinities at all. Moreover, when Miletus is explaining why he thinks Socrates believes in no gods at all, it's very clear that he's referring to the views of another ancient Greek philosopher, Anaxagoras. And Socrates calls him on that, says, you're confusing me with Anaxagoras. What you're describing, that's from the famous book by Anaxagoras. He does, I think, a very effective job of refuting the charges. Now, I mentioned in my last video that although most philosophers, and I include myself among them, do admire Socrates, he had a number of admirable qualities, but he wasn't perfect. And one of his qualities that I think is, less than admirable is he could be a bit of a bully. He was very sharp, very intelligent, and he liked to kind of make sport of outwitting his dim-witted opponents and sort of showing them up. And he can tell he really relishes exposing Meletus for the fool that in fact he was. And he goes so far as to make fun of his name. And this is something that really only comes out reading it in Greek. The translation doesn't come across as well. But the name Meletus in Greek means something like one who cares. And so when Socrates cross-examines Meletus, he mercilessly makes fun of his name. He'll say things like, "Tell me, Meletus, you care so much. What do you think about such and such an issue?" But one of the substantive points that he makes is one of the times when he does that, he says, "Tell me, Meletus, you care so much about the youth being properly educated and not corrupted. You say that I have corrupted them. Well, who benefits them? Who in Athens do you think benefits them?" And it's very clear that Meletus had never thought about that. And so he stumbles quite a bit in his answers. And then in response to Socrates' questions, he finally ends up saying, "Everyone in Athens benefits them, and only you, Socrates, corrupts them," which Socrates has no trouble pointing out how preposterous that is, to think that everyone in that entire large city benefits the youths. So, in spite of the fact that Socrates successfully refuted Meletus, he was convicted. The vote was 280 to 220. And Socrates, after the vote came in, expressed some surprise that it was as close as it was. But then after the conviction, now there's going to be a separate hearing on sentencing. And this is where the issue of exile as a possibility comes up. And exile is the theme of this series. So in my next video, which should be posted next Friday, October 8th, I believe that will be. Sorry, that would be October 15th. Sorry. The next video will be part 3, and I'll talk about that second phase of the trial and what Socrates says about exile. In the meantime, let me thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and I hope you'll stay tuned for the next one a week from today. Thank you.